Santa Clarita's hometown station, KHTS. It is 340 on your hometown station. And we are joined in studio by Dante Acosta and Caleb Lunetta joining us in studio. How you guys doing?
Doing all right. How about you, Assemblyman?
I'm doing well. How's my microphone?
That's much better. Okay, there we go.
Well
Okay, that's much better. Okay.
I cut my mic, folks, in case you're wondering how we're talking about it. I just barely said hello, and I guess that's a sign of things to come.
Well, now it's working, so let's just jump into the first question, which is going to be about CEMEX. I'm wanting to pick your brain a little bit about that ongoing issue. I know it's mostly federal, but is there anything in Sacramento that's being done about it?
Not really. It is a federal issue. The particular case right now is in the Court of Land Appeals with the Bureau of Land Management having canceled the contracts. And so that process has to work its way through. It did make Congressman Knight did get legislation inserted where the surface estate, as it's called, has been removed from mineral extraction, and that's just a fancy way of saying you can't mine there once these current contracts are completed, or in this case, if the Court of Land Appeals does rule in favor of the city and the BLM, then it will be a done deal. So Congressman Knight, the city, myself included while I was on the council, and others for many years have been working very hard on this issue to make sure that the mining and all of the truck traffic and dust pollution, etc., does not affect the residents of the Santa Clarita Valley.
All right. So if you're just joining us, this is Caleb Lunetta sitting down with 38th District Assembly Member Dante Acosta on your hometown station, KHTS. Now, we've got a relatively low crime rate, but that still doesn't mean it's not a problem here in Santa Clarita. Do you have any plans right now to address how to keep our numbers keep going down, how to keep Santa Clarita at that low crime rate that it's already at?
You know, first of all, you're absolutely right. The crime rate has historically been very low in Santa Clarita. It's been ranked consistently as one of the safest cities in the country, and we have seen a bit of an uptick because I feel because of AB 109 that the legislature enacted, Prop 47 and 57, which were enacted by referendum by the voters. And a lot of this has to do with definitions of crimes. So if you say something is no longer a crime, you know, the real world effects on our residents is my stuff was still stolen, but it's an infraction, or something really bad happened to somebody and they're not calling it a serious felony. So that particular individual is not being subject to the full weight of the law maybe that they were in the past, in the penalty phase. So one of the things that I did is last year, for example, I ran AB 537, 38, and 39. Those were all three pieces of companion legislation having to do with public safety. It's one of the primary things that I work on, and we were successful on AB 539 as a privacy piece of legislation that primarily affected women and basically having to do with, invasion of privacy, photographs, those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. So we're going to come back and continue to work on those issues. But keep in mind, this legislature doesn't have much of an appetite for putting bad people behind bars. Quite the contrary. So we're going to continue to push that issue in the legislature.
Now, just building a little bit more on the crime issue, is one of the large things that is very present in the minds of people in Santa Clarita is drugs, obviously. There's an uptick from what we've seen in drug usage here in Santa Clarita, particularly with prescription drugs. Now, is there something that you're planning or that you're seeing in Sacramento that's attempting to address something like that here?
Sure. I was co-author on a piece of legislation that expanded the database so that people, when they go to get a prescription, it's a little bit more challenging for them, rightfully so, more challenging for them to doctor shop. That doesn't mean that they're not going to be able to get the treatment that they need, but it's going to be able to allow the tracking of multiple prescriptions, so we can start dealing with this opioid addiction. And folks, if you've got these prescriptions in your home, please keep them out of the hands of children and young teens and adults, young adults, because these things can be very, very habit-forming and addicting. They're very necessary for pain management. But really work with your doctor on other forms of pain management, and please dispose of these properly. The Sheriff's Department has take-back programs. You can always contact my office and we'll help direct you. But this is a very serious issue. We're going to continue to grapple with it, but we need to focus on it together as a community. Addiction leads to so many other problems, and I'm sure we're going to talk about homelessness, that being one of them.
Yes, sir. But if you're just joining us, this is Caleb Lunetta, sitting down with 38th District Assembly Member Dante Acosta on your hometown station KHTS. One of the big things that Santa Clarita has always been on or been concerned about is also freeways. Now, when it comes to freeways, we have the 5, which is getting a facelift, as you know. The 14, though, continues to be congested. Is that something that you would want to approach? Is something to try to give the same treatment to the 14 as the 5 is receiving?
Yeah. Well, you've got a couple of issues there. Absolutely, the 5 had a pavement rehabilitation program. It started last year, coincidentally, right after the gas tax was voted on, which and people conflated the two. That rehabilitation program had nothing to do with the gas tax. That's prior rehabilitation funds that were there. Congressman Knight was successful working with not only the state legislators, such as myself and Senator Wilk, but also the City Council and Catherine Barger, our county supervisor, to secure about $90 million for additional funding for the I-5 corridor. The 14, we're continuing to work on that, looking for funding sources. But keep in mind, we'll probably talk about it, but the gas tax does nothing for traffic congestion. Separate issue. And again, this legislature, this governor thinks that everybody should be out of their cars and on trains. I want to continue to work I started at SCAG on the Transportation Committee to work on Metrolink having better train service. By the way, there's a new station open at Burbank Airport, so you can take the Metrolink from Santa Clarita right to the Burbank Airport.
Really?
And and it's fantastic. We have to also work on frequency of service so that people will be more comfortable with using it, and we're continuing to work on that as well.
Oh, yeah. Now,
Well, this is what we'll do. We'll take a quick break. We'll do traffic, and then we'll come back with more, if that's okay with you.
You
Well,
bet.
even if it's not okay with you, we're still going to do it.
We're still going to do it?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're still going to do it. Quick break. Traffic on the 8s is next.
You bet.
Hey, Kyle, what are you doing Saturday, June 30th?
Not sure.
Nowhere bound, huh?
What?
Come on, Bubba Hyde. Get it together. You're a beautiful mess.
Oh, I see what you're doing. Diamond Rio songs. You're unbelievable.
Why, thank you, Kyle. I just want to let our listeners know that we'll be hosting the Big Diamond Rio show with special guest Savannah Burrows at the PAC at COC.
Imagine that.
Look at you getting it now.
One more day.
No, dude, it's June 30th.
Be my wingman.
Oh, now you're quoting Savannah Burrows songs.
Yep.
Sweet.
Join Tori and me when we host Diamond Rio with special guest SCV's own Savannah Burrows. Saturday, June 30th, 7 p.m. at COC's PAC.
Tickets are on sale now. Go to canyonspac.com.
Or hometownstation.com.
Beep, 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 beep. Go!
Santa Clarita's hometown station, KHTS. Quick look at traffic now. Traffic every 10 minutes. 14 in the 5 freeways. 5 still slow from about the 126 all the way down through Lyons Avenue due to no incidents. It looks like people might be getting out of town for the sort of long weekend. Could be. 5 northbound side also slow from the 405 through Lyons Avenue. And the 14 north, the only slow one we're seeing is near Newhall Avenue. Starting to bunch up a little bit near St. Canyon as well. But that's traffic on your hometown station, KHTS.
KHTS.
Now FM 98.1 FM and AM 1220. Your hometown station.
Santa Clarita's hometown station, KHTS. Always good to have guests in the studio. Caleb Lunetta, Assemblyman Dante Acosta also joining us. And we're talking shop, so to speak, with Assemblyman Acosta.
Is that like wood shop?
I think so,
I
right?
Like
I think so.
I really liked wood shop, metal shop.
I think so.
Print shop.
I was never very good at it. My mom loved the things I made, though.
Oh, that's all that
Yeah.
matters.
I made a
She's
great-
contractually obligated to
I
do
made,
that, too.
made a great wrought iron lamp. Thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really cool. Weighed like 100 pounds. It
Hey,
was awesome.
congrats, man.
It's a long time ago when metal was the thing.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of building,
There it is.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about water. It's an important issue for Santa Clarita, obviously.
Pretty much everywhere, by the way. Just
I don't think everywhere, just us.
We're the only ones that need water.
But there's been a lot of change over the last couple of years towards water policy here. Is there anything coming down the pipeline
Did it again.
Nailed it again. Is there anything coming out of Sacramento that we can expect to see in terms of water?
There's a huge reservoir of ideas in Sacramento on water policy.
I'm going to stop this. I'm
Are
going to
you gonna
stop
just
this
break
very soon.
this up? Okay, sorry, that's the last one. So, boy, do we have an hour? Because that's what we need on water policy. Listen, the short version is Santa Clarita is a mixed bag. We're blessed with groundwater. It's about 50% of our supply. We have about 50% of our supply comes from the State Water Project, which also has its issues, including potential reliability if there's an earthquake and that kind of thing. But one of the things that's unfortunate is that we had a bond measure that passed, and that billions of dollars of bond money for water projects, and yet the state water board appointees of this current governor have not approved a single project. They just basically bypassed on 11 great projects. Well, maybe they're not all great, but the ones that I visited, I'm vice chair of natural resources, which, by the way, water is one. I've visited several of the sites for some of these reservoirs, including the Sites Reservoir, and it's tailor-made for a reservoir, and they have not approved that. As a matter of fact, they've not approved quite a few projects that are really necessary, including Temperance Flats up in the Fresno area. So until we get people moving in the right direction on water policy, whether it's storage and conveyance, of course, the legislature saw fit to do a measure where we're going to be severely restricted per person on the amount of water we can use. Really going to be an issue for people, and I think we need to continue with conservation. But we're not going to conserve our way out of it. We need to have continual building of new reservoirs, and the storage and conveyance of water is crucial to the state of California. Look, we're estimated to be 50 million population, from 38 now to 50 in 20 years. It's probably going to be more than that, by the way. And if we don't do something now, we have a water system that's designed for about 16 million people in California. The math doesn't add up, so we need to continue to push and work on that, and I'll continue to do that.
All right. Again, if you're just joining us, this is Caleb Netta from KHTS, your hometown station, sitting down with Assembly Member Dante Acosta, who represents the 38th District. And we wanted to talk about a lot of the things that are affecting Santa Clarita, including water. We've touched on transportation as well, and drugs. But another big thing that's coming out, especially out of LA City Council and then our own City Council here in Santa Clarita, is an issue of homelessness, of having to take responsibility for some people within the community that are without a home. Is there anything that's coming from your office, or maybe just from up north from the legislature that's trying to deal with this homeless crisis that we're in?
Well, I think the homeless crisis is multifaceted, and one of the things that is really exacerbating the problem is we have a severe shortage of supply of homes. We need to be building about 180,000 homes, and we're building, I think it's 80,000 per year. So if you look at that, that's just to keep up with the current demand. So when you do things like or you fail to enact CEQA, California Environmental Quality Act, for those listening at home, when you fail to enact CEQA reforms, you continue to kick the can down the road in terms of how to, deal with the, labor and other issues like solar on rooftops on every single home in California, which, by the way, sounds great, except that we have an abundance of solar and we are overproducing solar during the day, no way to store it. So just imagine adding, $10,000 to $30,000 per price of the home. We're exacerbating the problem. But what is being done locally in Santa Clarita, the council has been very proactive in working with nonprofits and working with the county. Nonprofits such as Bridge to Home, they've secured a site. They are working on the building fund so they can go out and build that. But there's a lot of things that we can do because they're all related, whether it's a housing shortage, which leads to people being priced out of their homes. Also, things like the drug addiction that we talked about earlier, that exacerbates the problem. Making sure that we have good quality education programs in our community so people have an opportunity to make a living, to be able to afford to live in the community. So they're all interrelated, so you can't just take one piece and say, oh, we just need to build more homes, or oh, we need to deal with the drug crisis, or oh, we need to have a homeless shelter. We need to come together and all of these things holistically, and those are all things that we're continuing and currently working on concurrently to address the crisis. So we'll continue to be proactive on that issue. I do work very closely with Bridge to Home and other organizations that are helping to address the need, and it's a great question, and it's something that everybody needs to pull together on.
Well, whether we're talking about, water, we're talking about drugs, or we're talking about homelessness, one of the largest communities that's affected by any type of addiction or homelessness within the United States, and especially within Santa Clarita, because we have a large population of veterans, and their community is disproportionately affected by a homelessness issue. Is there anything that we can see coming out that will affect or help that this group of people, this group of veterans that are so many of the residents here in Santa Clarita?
Well, I think mental health resources are vitally important. It's not directly related, but it'll help in other ways. I've made a budget request that did not make it in the budget at this point. A budget request to add additional resources in our schools so that we can help mitigate some of the mental health issues we're having there. I'm continuing to work with our county agencies so that they have the budget, the funding that they need in order to make sure that our folks are getting, particularly our veterans, are getting the mental health resources that they need. But it's also somewhat of a question of making sure they know about the resources. So I know I've directed staff. We're working right now on a program to work with College of the Canyons, for example, on not only on the programs that are available to veterans there, but we are going to try to work with getting the message out in terms of some of the facilities and some of the resources that are available, because a lot of it is just a matter of them not knowing what's available to them. So my office can help assist with that. So we're going to continue to work and push in that area.
Those COC programs you're talking about, those are vocational programs?
There's some vocational programs there that are available specifically for veterans. And another thing I know folks around here are interested in, I think that if you look at the size, for example, of College of the Canyons, you look at how many students, I think they're approaching 25,000 people. That's larger than some universities. And all these universities have, some form of housing, dorms, et cetera. I think that's something that we should take a good hard look at, locally for our community college, which is really the size of some universities, and of course has the university center. You can actually go there and get your 4-year degree, and higher and graduate degrees as well. That maybe it's time to start looking at that. So dovetailing that with some of our veterans issues, because they have access to resources through their grants, their GI Bill, et cetera, that would allow them to be able to access the resources. So we'll work with College of the Canyons on getting the word out on that and helping to streamline the process for our veterans.
Yeah, because I know COC and veterans are especially important to the Santa Clarita Valley, someone who's lived here the whole time, so, their whole life. So,
you bet.
Dante, thanks for coming in.
You bet.
Appreciate
That's
you being
it.
here. Is there ever I call you Dante?
You can call me Dante, or you can call me Mr. Acosta, or you can say "Hey you," or
"Hey guy."
All of the above.
All of the above.
Right.
No, Dante's fine. It's fine. He's been saying assembly member.
I know. That's why I felt bad saying
yeah,
it.
Well,
but you're a
we've
neighbor.
known each other a long time.
Yeah, you're a neighbor.
Neighbors, so there you
go. Thank you for coming in. Appreciate you. I know you're a busy
My
guy. We're going to take a quick break. Traffic on the 8s is next.
Hometown, your hometown station.